The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gam Podcast Network is brought to you by Nick Fantasy. The welcome new customers plays $5, get $100 bonus funds. We use promo code SGPN. And welcome everyone to the Tennis Gam Podcast here on the Sports Gam Podcast Network. It's currently Sunday afternoon, October 19th, around 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Here to break down Basel and Vienna, two upcoming events over the next week or so. Before we get into those two events, though, brief, I'd say, apology for missing the final for the three matches on Sunday. Unfortunately, I was traveling back from AC, just didn't have the time to actually record, so apologies. But hopefully you catch some outrights with us, which we'll recap in a second. But we had to scrap the last episode. Apologies there. It is what it is. Anyway, before we get into any of the recap for the last episode that we actually did record and a recap of the matches on Sunday, a reminder, you can also check out the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. But if you actually do listen to it on Spotify, audio only, that's fine. Leave a rating and a review. And on YouTube, like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Plus, a reminder, we have merchandise on the SGPN merch store. We have sweatshirts, we have t-shirts, we have mugs. Check it out. Different colors, very affordable. Think you'll enjoy the selection that we have. Plus, a reminder, we do have the hockey season, which did start up again already. NHL's back, so is the Hockey On podcast. Join Ryan and Joel as they break down the biggest games, storylines, awards, and best bets throughout the season. Let it slide. So, starting off with the recap of the plays from the semifinal episode, because we skipped the final. For the recap, overall split. Ended up winning the lock. We had Lehechka and Perricard first set over 10.5 games at minus 138. No breaks in the entire match. The sweat-free winner there at minus 138. For the dog, though, bit of an annoying loss and a bit of a heartbreak. I'm sure some of you might have gotten a void out of it. I'll grade it as a loss, though. We had Rune Moneyline at plus 104. It was on FanDuel, which actually did void. However, I'll grade it as a loss because I'm sure some of you did end up getting a loss out of that. But Rune was up a set, and he tore his Achilles. So not exactly how we drew it up. Hopefully, Rune makes a full recovery. Going to be out for basically 6 to 9 months, I think. But yeah, his Achilles snapped, and that was confirmed the day after by Rune himself. So picked up a loss with the dog. Once again, if you ended up having a void, then you end up getting your money back. But Rune was in a great spot. He was 5-0 lifetime against Humbert, and his Achilles exploded. So it is what it is. Hopefully he recovers. But either way, picked up a loss there for the dog. But hopefully he got a push in the process. Anyway, for the actual recap of the final match that took place on Sunday, we had a good outcome for the outrights. Now, it would have been great if Humbert won, because Humbert was a nice price, and that would have given us potential sweep of the three events. We'll have to settle for 2 out of 3, which is not too bad. We had Medvedev to win Almaty at plus 250. We had Felix to win in Brussels at 320. And we had Humbert to win in Stockholm at a pretty good price. And unfortunately, at 16-1, they didn't get there. So he ended up losing to Rune. Lost to Ruud in straight sets. He got killed. Nothing else to add. Ruud was incredible, played a great match, and Humbert got destroyed, won 5 games. So that one was the most boring match out of the 3. But either way, the point is the other 2 were close. So you had 2 3-setters in Almaty. You had Medvedev, who ended up beating Mutet in 3 sets. Fun matchup. Got revenge for the DC choke job a couple months ago. Medvedev won the first set, lost the second set, then won in the third one 6-3. Nice job. Snapped the streak. He had been winless in events for 2+ years, and he finally won one. So good for him. Amazing what happens when you fire a coach. And he ends up winning a title immediately after. So nice job by him. And we ended up cashing a $250 price for the outright. So nice job there. For Felix, we would have won automatically, actually. We had Felix and Lehechka outrights. So Lehechka was around 6-1. Would have been a better price. But Felix got the job done as he won in 3. No breaks in the first 2 sets again for Lehechka. Back-to-back matches that happened. Won the second set. And then Felix came back and buried him in the third set 6-2. Nice toughness mentally for Felix, who punted away 2 title points in the breaker in the second set. Then eventually hit an error to punt away the entire breaker. And you know what? He dusted it off. Good for him. I thought there was a chance he might implode mentally. He did not, and he was able to win comfortably in the third set. So overall, point is, ended up having a nice overall week for us outright-wise. We did not sweep with the outright wins because Humbert did lose in the final. You could have hedged if you wanted to. It was a reasonable price on Ruud, and Humbert was 16-1. But Medvedev at 250 and Felix at 320. Can't complain. Nice, I'd say, addition to the outright collection, and we'll try to add a couple more over the next few I'd say, days or the next week or so, getting through Basel and Vienna. So besides that, nothing else to really talk about. Thinking of other things worth mentioning. I'll mention Rybakina, who ended up winning in Ningbo against Alexandrova, who ended up winning the first set 6-3, and then Rybakina killed her and only lost 2 games in the final 2 sets combined. So Rybakina flipped the switch, dominated, and got the job done there. Besides that, for qualifying in Basel, Bertola, the local Swiss player, made it through, beating Hallis in the final qualifying. Royer lost to Majcik. Opelka beat Dzanchulp, yet Dzanchulp got in, actually, as a lucky loser. And Cilic beat Goffin in qualifying. His reward is a first-round match against Goffin. So it's an immediate rematch. Pretty rare that happens where they face off in qualifying, and yet they face off again in the first round. But you know what? Goffin's got a shot of revenge immediately, as they will face off again on either Monday or Tuesday. Besides that, for Vienna, Dezumer beat Quinn, Kovacevic beat McDonald, Arnaldi beat Schoolcat, and you ended up seeing Fernley beat Medjedovic. So nothing too shocking, but I thought it was pretty amusing. You ended up seeing Cilic beat Goffin, and they play again in the actual draw. So I found that fascinating. But either way, time to move on into the actual breakdown of Basel and Vienna. It was also announced, by the way, that Tiafoe officially shut down play for the rest of the season, which I thought he announced previously, but I guess it's now confirmed. So Medvedev fired his coach, and he ended up playing through the last couple months, and it worked out for him, getting back into form. Tiafoe fired his coach and decided that it was time to take some time off. So in addition to basically scrapping the entire team, he also took the rest of the year off. Besides that, Raducanu ended her season with injuries again. What else is new? And Fernandez ended up winning the Japan Open, 5th career title. Nice job by her. Of course, Fernandez will always be attached to Raducanu for the U.S. Open final, the unlikely nature of it, since then Raducanu has never won anything, and Fernandez has 5 titles. So either way, nice win for Fernandez. Said before, Rybakina had a nice win in Ningbo, and once again, Raducanu and Tiafoe are done for the rest of the season. Anyway, time to move on into the breakdown of the 2 tournaments. Before we get into those, a reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is, of course, MyBookie.ag. Use bet on football, college football. You can also use them to bet on tennis. You can use them to bet on the NBA, starting up on Tuesday, NHL as well. They're rather simple. Bet anything, anywhere, anytime. Use crypto for funding your account and for getting nice payouts. And a reminder, use code SGPN when you sign up at MyBookie.ag, and you'll get 100% bet back bonus, $500 from new customers. Look at the G promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Novig, which is America's #1 prediction market for sports. You're getting some great prices using Novig. It's available in several states. Download the Novig app. $50 and spend just $5 if you use the promo code SGPN. Get an extra Novig. Promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Cam podcast. Finish recapping what happened in the final matches in Almaty, in Stockholm, and in Brussels. Time to go on into the upcoming week. So for Basel and Vienna, we have quarter odds for one of the 2 events. We have quarter odds for Basel. We do not have that for Vienna. So because of that, we will ignore our usual chronological order. Vienna does start about half hour before Basel. We're going to ignore that. We're going to go with Basel first because we have quarter odds, and we'll go into a greater, I'd say more thorough breakdown of that event. So starting off with Basel, remember this was the Pericard Invitational last year because Pericard served bombs and nobody could break them. I believe Pericard, in addition to not even getting broken in the entire tournament, only faced a break point in one of the matches in the entire tournament. So the majority of the event, he faced 0 break points. It was a serving clinic, arguably the best serving display in a tournament ever in the history of tennis. Anyway, he's back trying to defend his title, but either way, he beat Shelton in the final last year. He saw Felix beat Hurkacz, and Felix beat Rune the year prior. So Felix has been good here, which makes sense. He's a good indoor hardcore player. We saw that last week. However, fatigue can play a factor because Felix, of course, did play in the final on Sunday in Brussels, and was traveling and playing in Basel in Switzerland. So Felix is not exactly in a great spot schedule-wise. At the same point, though, 2-time champion, and we know is a very good indoor hardcore player. Could still be a good week for Felix. We'll see. Now, I said before, Pericard is actually returning to defend his title. We'll see how he does. He looked pretty good over the past week. Did end up losing the semis to Lehecka in Brussels. So he was playing pretty good tennis. Lehecka beat him. 2 breakers is what it is. But we know Pericard's serve is almost unbreakable on these courts. And we'll see if people can actually do that or beat him without breaking him, like Lehecka did in Brussels in the semis. So for the actual quarter odds first quarter, diving into here, Fritz is the favorite, minus 115, give or take. You have Humbert at 450 off of the final loss in Stockholm. You have Lehecka off the finals loss in Brussels at 450. Opelka at 6-1. Korda is at 8-1. You have Vacherat off of the title, the insane title run in Shanghai. He's back, takes on Fritz in the first round, so no buys here, but he's at 18-1. Dzanchel, lucky loser, 22-1, and Baez is 22-1. So for the actual path, I said Fritz plays Vacherat in the first round, which could be interesting because Vacherat's a good server, and if he's actually able to play as well as he did in Shanghai, who knows what he can do at this event. Now, am I picking Vacherat to actually make a good run here? I am not. I do think that after winning the insane 1,000 title, I think he'll regress naturally, and I think Fritz is a bad opponent for him to face because Fritz is a very good server, and I do think you might see a breaker, but I think that Fritz has the serve that can definitely frustrate the Vacherat return game. So I do think that Fritz should get the job done. Vacherat, look, great run, but I'm not going to pick lightning to strike twice here. I think he'll lose early to Fritz in the first round. However, Fritz does have Korda and Humbert, or Humbert, in the second round. Not a great path for Fritz. Now, Humbert might be exhausted. Korda, we know, ended up losing to Ruud in 3 sets in the previous event in Stockholm, which actually aged pretty well because Ruud ended up winning the final easily, and Korda won a set. So Korda actually lost the marathon against the eventual champion. A good showing by Korda. Now, do I think either guy beats Fritz? Probably not. I think Fritz ends up winning, so I'll go for him in this one as my first choice. Think the great serving, and with the fast-paced courts here, the backtrack, Basel's actually the fastest hard court on the entire tour at this point in time. So this is the, I'd say, serve bot invitational, and you don't have to be a serve bot in order to win, but the point is the serving is extremely hard to break on these courts. The fastest paced courts in the entire ATP schedule, faster than multiple, if not all, grass courts. So once again, good serving goes a long way. I'll go with Fritz here at minus 110. Now, I'm going to have to skip through Humbert and Korda because I don't like the draw against each other in the first round, then Fritz in the second round. It's too tough. I'll pass on Korda and Humbert. But I do think I have to go for the guy who actually did end up dealing with a pretty decent amount of heartbreak on Sunday. Fatigue might be a factor, but I'll take him for the price. Lehecka at 450. He has Dzanchel in the first round. Dzanchel, I don't think is very good, but Lehecka might be exhausted. We'll see. Still a great serve, and he got broken 2 times the entire event, the third set against Felix. So through the entire tournament, before the winner-go-home set, he had not been broken. So I like his serve in general. Dzanchel ended up getting broken twice by Opelka in qualifying, and he still made it into the draw. Not a fan of his form, and I think that Lehecka is better than Opelka. Might go to a couple breakers as well. Opelka, though, I don't trust enough to actually beat Fritz. I think Lehecka could. So I'll take Lehecka at 450 as my second choice for the first quarter, but I acknowledge not the greatest spot for him off a loss on Sunday in the Brussels final. Moving on to the second quarter. Now, I mentioned a second ago, Ruud did win in Stockholm. He's here. He's 175 as the favorite. Fekina is at 370. Brooksby is at 4-1. Kmanovic is 5-1. Sonego 750. Mueller is at 16-1. Owarenka, home country guy here in Switzerland, is 18-1, and Hallis is 30-1. So Ruud had a very easy final against Humbert. Played lights out. He played a flawless match, basically. Now, I know I said a second ago that good serving goes a long way here. The problem is there aren't many great servers in this quarter because Ruud's not a great server. Fekina's not a great server. Brooksby is an awful server. Kmanovic is pretty good serving, but he's still a head case. I don't really trust him. Sonego's a good server, but he's still volatile. I don't like his first-round match against Fekina. It's really a very weak serving section, so I'm going to kind of ignore those principles for this quarter in particular because I do think this is definitely a rare spot where nobody has a good enough serve for me to blindly take them to just hold serve every time and to potentially win in a couple tie breaks. So I'm going to go chalk here. I'll go with Ruud at 175. The draw, I think, is pretty good. He has Hallis in the first round. Lucky loser Hallis said before he lost to a relative unknown Swiss player, and he got in anyway. But Ruud's draw is very favorable. He has House in the first round, then Kekmanovic or Wawrinka. It's a great path into the quarters, even though he did end up winning a title on Sunday. I think the draw is too good to pass, so I'll take Ruud there. For the bottom half, though, Brooksby and Mueller's not the easiest matchup. Both guys not great servers on fast courts, so it's going to be interesting. Sonego is the best server out of the four, but the problem is Fekina has been good in the head-to-head against them, and I think that's good enough for me. I'll take him. I'll go with Fekina at 375. I like the price. He's been good in the head-to-head against Sonego, and I do think, in theory, he could beat Ruud. He has given Ruud some problems. I believe Sonego in his career is 0-5 against Fekina, I think. I looked that up earlier. I take it back. So they faced off on clay 2019. Sonego won. This is the only meeting they had. Sonego, though, was 0-5 lifetime against Ruud. So that's why I couldn't take Sonego. Ruud owns him, so I didn't want to bother. Fekina, though, has actually had some mixed results against Ruud. So I'll go with him as my longer shot here. Second favorite, but still. 375, he's favored against Sonego in the first round. I'll take him. I'm not picking either guy to win the entire tournament. Spoiler, because I do think big serves need to be present in order to win here. But I think to win a quarter, Ruud, if he plays as well as he did in Stockholm, can potentially get the job done. And Fekina, I think, can play well enough to at least make a good run. I'll go for those two guys as my choices for the second quarter. Moving on to the third quarter. This is going to be the Pericard section where he's not favored to win the quarter. But you know what? I still think the draw is open. Mensik is the favorite at 225. Good server. Shapo's at 4-1. Pericard's at 450. Rinderknech is at 450 as well. Fonseca at 650. Collignon is at 750 off the semifinal loss to Felix in Brussels. Giron at 11-1 and a complete unknown at 100-1. So Mensik, I understand, won a 1,000 title this year in Miami. Very good server. I get it. Has he been good lately? No. He peaked in Miami. He's been awful ever since. So Mensik has been really bad for the last couple months. I'm not taking him. I understand the draw is favorable for him. I get it. He has a complete unknown in the first round. Then he has a matchup against either Pericard or Fonseca. The first round, though, is basically a bye. I don't trust Mensik at all. He's been really bad over the last couple months, so I'm not going to take him at this price. I see a lot of good servers who can make it interesting. Pericard, defending champion, did not get broken in the entire event last year. If you get a couple breakers against Mensik, I'll take my chances. But I think that Pericard at 450 is appealing. Now, he can lose easily in two breakers like he did against Leheshka, but I do think that 450 is a good price for the best server on tour, arguably, a guy who won the title here last year. And he played pretty well in Brussels, fast-paced courts as well, losing in the semi, beating Musetti, who has owned him in the head-to-head. I think 450 is a good price. I wanted a bigger number on Mensik. I did not see it. I'll pass on him there as the favorite in this quarter. I'll skip over him. Give me Pericard at 450. Now, I said before, I am going to skip Vacherat, who won the title in Shanghai. However, I do actually like the draw for the runner-up. Go with Rinderknech to get the job done at 450 as well. Now, Collignon was in very good form this past week as he ended up losing in the semis to Felix. However, still young. He's traveling. Rinderknech has taken some time off since Shanghai. We know Rinderknech can serve well, and the fact is he was volleying a lot in Shanghai, and it worked out. I think the serve and volley game can be very dangerous on the courts here. If Rinderknech is able to come forward, shorten points, he's already tough to break in the first place. You throw in the volleying, he can really frustrate a lot of players on these courts. And I'm not saying he's going to win the whole thing, but I do think making a very good run to the semis and beyond is possible. He made the final in Shanghai, beat some good players along the way, beating Medvedev, beating some other guys too. I think you're looking at a decent spot at 450. Collignon and him are basically a pick'em in the first round, but I think that the fast-paced courts benefit him more than Collignon. Then Giron or Shapo's up next. Shapo's a head case, and Giron does not have a lot of firepower. I see a decent path for Rinderknech. I'll take him at 450 as my second choice to win the third quarter. Looking at the comments section, I see Matt mentioning that I took some time off Pai-Gal. I did. I had a good time playing Pai-Gal. Made $20 in about 3 hours while just chugging drinks at the table. So that was a fun time. Ginger and Lucy, not a fan of the NFL games today. Not many great actual NFL games today. So kind of a letdown there. I see SF stopping by. He's asking what exactly we're betting on for futures. The winners of Basel and Vienna, but we also have quarter odds for Basel. So you can bet to win the quarter, or in other words, to make the semifinal, and then you can also bet on who's going to win the entire tournament. So that's the difference. But we're covering the quarters in Basel. We are not covering them in Vienna because right now they do not exist. See Rex stopping by. What's up, Rex? Hope you're having a nice Sunday. So anyway, I'm moving on into the final quarter. This is going to be, in my opinion, the most open one because I know I just said a second ago I'm skipping Mensick in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, Shelton. Now, Shelton made the final here last year, but we saw him a couple weeks ago, and he came back early from the shoulder injury, and Goffin killed him. So is Shelton actually healthy? I have no idea, but he's 165. I will not be taking that for the sake of this quarter because I don't know how healthy he actually is. So I'm going to pass on Shelton there. Just first things first, at around 185. Not big enough for me. I will pass on that one. You have Felix, who just won a title in Brussels, two-time champion here. He's at plus 260. You have Cilic at 5-1. You have Munar at 650. Diallo at 7-1. You have Mychik at 14-1. Goffin at 14-1, and Bertoli, who is a relative unknown Swiss player who did make it through qualifying. So no wild card for him. He actually earned his spot into the main draw. Now, I am going to point out that for this quarter, I understand that Felix just won a title, two-time champion. I'm going for the bold passover with him. Diallo first round. Not a great matchup. I know that he's better than Diallo, but Diallo can serve. And on the fast-paced courts here, I don't see a very straightforward win for Felix off the final with no bye in the first round of this event. So I'm going to pass on Felix. I get that most people are expecting me to take him because he's a two-time champion, and I get that he definitely is a good enough indoor hardcourt player to go back-to-back, winning in Brussels and in Basel. Having said that, I don't like the draw. Diallo's not been very good lately, but you know what? He can serve, and Felix's return game can be vulnerable. I think that it can be an upset spot. I think Felix probably wins. Do I like the draw for him? Not really. I'm going to pass on Felix, and I think that Shelton might be injured. So instead, I'm going to swing for the fences in this quarter. First choice, I'm taking Cilic at plus 500. Now, he lost to Ruud in the first round in Stockholm, which aged very well because A, it was close, and B, Ruud won the entire tournament. So it was not Cilic's fault that he lost a close match against the inevitable champion in the first round. So 5-1 I like. Now, I do think that even if Felix does beat Diallo, Cilic has Goffin in the first round, who he beat in qualifying. So I know that he's the better player on these fast-paced courts. Cilic's serve, though, can be dangerous. I think he can maybe sneak a breaker or two against Felix if that's what ends up happening. 5-1, though, I think it's a good price. Cilic played well against Djokovic in Shanghai, lost in straight sets. Only got broken one time, though. Thought he played well. And then he lost the inevitable champion in Ruud, a slower-paced indoor hard court. I think he'll play well here. I think his serve can translate to the courts in Basel, and I think that beating Goffin in the qualifying round does make him believe he should beat Goffin again in the first round here in the main draw match. But I'll let Diallo and Felix kill each other. Give me Cilic, who I think should beat Goffin. I think it's a decent actual path. But I'm going to go for the full fade of Shelton. I'm taking Mychik, his first round opponent, at 14-1. And you know what? Give me the Swiss long shot. Give me Bertoli at 25-1. Went through qualifying, killed Manarino. He looked good in the last round of qualifying as well. Serving pretty well on the courts here. 25-1 for what could be a serve bot quarter. I'll take some shots, but I think Mychik's variety can frustrate Shelton. We saw Goffin do the same thing against him a few weeks ago when Shelton came back from injury. Is Shelton fully healthy? We don't know. If he is, should he win the quarter? Maybe. Do I trust him to? No, I don't. I think that Shelton's too short. I see a lot of openings, and if Felix is exhausted, or maybe he drops out of the event, I doubt it because he's a two-time champion. But if he does, which is a possibility after winning the title in Brussels, the whole door opens up for the quarter. So you know what? Give me 3 long shots to actually make a decent run here. Not going to go too heavy on the units, obviously. Bet responsibly. But I do think there's some value on some serious long shots in this quarter. I'll take some shots. So once again, for the fourth quarter, give me Cilic at 5-1. I'm going to go with Mychik at 14-1 and give me Bertoli at 25-1. to 1. Moving on, though, to the actual recap of all the quarters, just quickly. First quarter, I'm going with Fritz at minus 110, and I'll go with Leheshka at 450. Second quarter, I'm going to go with Ruud at 175, and I'll go with Fekina at 375. Third quarter, I'm going to go with Pericard at 450 and Rinderknich at 450, the same price on both Frenchmen. Fourth quarter, Armageddon, give me Cilic at 5 to 1, give me Mychik at 14 to 1, and give me Bertoli at 25 to 1. Moving on to the outrights to win the entire tournament. So for the actual picks here, or for the odds, I mean, Fritz is plus 250, shop around. Shelton 7 to 1. Ruud is 9 to 1. Felix is 10 to 1. Mensik is 11 to 1. Humbert is 14 to 1. Leheshka is 16 to 1. Chapo, 18 to 1. Apelga is 20 to 1. Rinderknich 20 to 1. Fekina, 20 to 1. Pericard, 22 to 1. Cilic, 22 to 1. Korda, 25 to 1. Brooksby, 25 to 1. Higmanovic, 28 to 1. You kind of get the drill. So for the actual outright picks here, I will go chalk. I saw a 340 on Fritz. I'll take that. I think that was on, which book was that on? FanDuel, I believe. Fritz, at the end of the day, I think his game translates well to the courts here. He's a good indoor hardcourt player. We know that he's a good serve, and he also can rally better than most serve bots. I think it's a good matchup for him. I think the path's not terrible, and I think that his skill set translates to the courts here. Give me Fritz at 340. As that, though, I will serve Felix. He'll be a very popular pick at 10 to 1. I'm going to pass, though. I'm just not interested. Think the draw is not great for him, and I do question fatigue, so I'm going to skip over him. I have to go with the defending champion. I did take him in Brussels. He made the semis. I'll go with Pericard at 22 to 1. Defending champion, best server on tour. I'll take my shot with him. Think the draw is not that bad, and I think Fonseca has been kind of a mess lately. Pericard, I think, should be a decent favorite against him, and he is, but I honestly think that it's a worthy price for that. I think that Pericard as the serving champion on tour, 22 to 1, I'll take if he just has a bunch of just holds and a bunch of aces. I like that. I'll take him there at 20 to 1. Last but not least, give me Cilic as my long shot. I found 40 to 1. I said DraftKings had 22 to 1. BetMGM has 40. So with the price differential, I like them in the quarter anyway. I think he can be sneaky here. He won a hardcore title last year in China. People forgot that. And now he's here in a very favorable court that benefits his overall skill set. I like him at 40 to 1. Thought he played pretty well against Ruud, ended up losing. He eventually won the title, gave Djokovic a scare. I thought he played pretty well. So I like his current form. Give me Cilic at plus 4,000 as my long shot, my super long shot for the outrights in the winning of Basel. Anyway, so once again, the 3 outrights to win the event. I'm going to go with Fritz at 340. I'm going to go with Pericard at 22 to 1, and I'll go with Cilic at 40 to 1. Moving on, though, to Vienna. Before we get into the actual breakdown of the Vienna tournament, a reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is Arnold Fantasy. Play their pick'em entries, chance to win 500 times your entry, pick higher or lower, different stats. You can also use different sports. With that, you can use baseball, you could use football, you could use NBA when the season starts up in a few days, NHL, so name different sports, tennis as well. So check out the Underdog Pick'em entries. You could also use the new offer they have for new customers, pledge just $5, get $100 bonus funds. Use promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. They're crushing in college football and NFL with picks and props, giving away cash prize every week. Tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets at the same type of model that you build, and you can win $1K. Use code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for quarter off first month. That Rhythm, once again, promo code SGPN25 for quarter off your first month. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Scam Podcast. Finished going through the outrights in Basel. Time to move on into Vienna. A reminder, this will take less time because we have no quarter odds for Vienna. Recent winners, Draper beat Kashanov last year. Sinner beat Medvedev the year prior. Medvedev beat Chapo the year prior. And then Zverev beat Tiafoe the year before that. So the point is, Medvedev is a 2-time finalist, 1-time champion. Sinner is back. So we'll see if he can win another title here. But either way, we saw Sinner win the title in Saudi as he won the 6 Kings Slam, which they have to change the name for. It should be 5 Kings Slam and Tsitsipas, because Tsitsipas is definitely not a king. But either way, point is Sinner got the job done. He coasted, did not drop a set, killed Djokovic, killed Tsitsipas, and killed Alcaraz. He looks great, simply put. So we'll see how Sinner does. Tough to beat, but either way, they are going to try. So moving on to the outright picks for Vienna. Starting off with the favorite at Sinner, who's a minus price. He's minus 190. You have Dimonauer at 7 to 1. You have Medvedev at 850 off the title in Almaty. We'll see if he's tired or not. But either way, finally won a title. You got the monkey off his back. We'll see how he looks in this one. Zverev is at 9-1. Musetti's at plus 2,000. Khachanov 25-1. Magic 30-1. Rublev 30-1. Bublik 30-1. Griekspoor 40-1. Tsitsipas 40-1. Nakashima 40-1. Berrettini 50-1. Mutet 50-1. Nori 50-1. Echeverry 65-1. Papiron is at 65-1 as well. Mickelson 65-1. To be honest, who cares? It's going to be pretty chalky. Just spoiler, I don't have anything else to add in terms of long shot insight. I mean, it's Sinner's tournament to lose. I think we all know that. He's a minus 400 favorite to win his quarter. The only quarter that's listed, for some reason. No other quarters are listed, so I still can't go through it. But Sinner is minus 400 to make it to the semis, and I really can't disagree. So for the actual outright picks here, mentioning the draw as well. Look, Sinner is going to probably win the event. I could reinvent the wheel. It's going to be a very short tournament breakdown. Spoiler. Sinner minus 188. I have to mention it. I have it written specifically in small text underneath Sinner. I am not betting this. I am not betting a guy to win a title at minus 190. I am not going to do that. If you want to bet Sinner to win the title without dropping a set, that's an option. Get creative with it. But for him to win outright at minus 190, I will not take that. I can't do it. So Sinner, I think, will win the event. I can't bet that. If you want to, it's minus 188. I think he's going to win it. I can't bet it, though, at this price. So I'm going to pass, and I'll take one flyer. That's all I got. It's Medvedev at 850. Do I like it? Yes. Do I love it? Not really. But you know what? When Sinner's minus 190, you got to get creative. And I do think Medvedev, for his actual draw, is in a decent spot. De Minaur is in a very questionable price tag here at 7-1. He's in the same half as Sinner. Now, he gave Sinner run for his money in the event that Sinner actually won. He ended up winning a set against him for the second time ever. But Sinner still owns him. So I find De Minaur being a shorter price than Medvedev kind of weird. Medvedev is on the other side of the bracket in the half of Zverev. He owns Zverev. He's Zverev's father, basically. And on top of that, he's Borges in the first round, Mutet or Zoomer, same quarter as Musetti, who we know is not an amazing hardcore player. He owns Zverev as well. I think Medvedev at 850 is a good price. Maybe he can beat Sinner. I doubt it. I think Sinner wins the tournament. But you know what? For a guy that I think can beat Sinner, the only guy in the entire field who I think can beat Sinner, I'll take a flyer. Medvedev plus 850. If you want to once again go for Sinner to win, maybe throw in every win in straight sets. Get creative. But you know what? Sinner's probably going to roll. I got nothing else to add. I think Sinner wins, but give me Medvedev at 850 as my only choice for some value in this one. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the preview of the two events for the upcoming week. Once again, Vienna, I said, was going to be very short. I don't have much to add. I don't trust anybody to actually beat Sinner. De Minaur especially. Zverev's a head case. Musetti, I don't trust on hardcore. Khachanov been a mess this season. Nobody's good enough, just simply put. So give me Sinner once again, and I'll move on from there with Medvedev as my flyer at 850. Anyway, let's go wrap it up. Now, we already did the ad read, so time to move on into the lock and dog picks. We have some picks in the first round of Basel and Vienna. So for the actual lock, I'm going to go to Vienna. Fun matchup, actually. Very competitive on paper. You have Khachanov taking on Griekspoor. I'm going to go with the juicier play, but I still like it. Khachanov, team total over 12.5 at minus 150. That is on Caesars. Same bet, minus 175 on Bet365. Griekspoor has been dropping sets left and right. He's lost at least one set in 8 straight matches. Both guys also a ton of long sets. So there has been a 7-5 or a 7-6 set in 8 straight Khachanov matches, and there's been a 7-5 or 7-6 in 8 of Griekspoor's last 9 matches. Breaking serve, not common for these two guys. Holding serve, pretty common. I see at least one 7-6 or 7-5. Maybe you end up getting a 3-setter. But Khachanov, I think, is the better player. Said before, he's been very good here, historically speaking. And I think he is, right now, a guy who should be favored against Griekspoor. Griekspoor has been kind of underwhelming, with the exception of the win against Sinner, which was because Sinner was exhausted and ended up retiring in the match. But I've mentioned it earlier that Khachanov has made good runs in Vienna. He made the final last year. So the fact is, I'm going to take the defending runner-up to probably win a set minimum, and I think there'll be a 7-5 or 7-6. So I like the combo there. Once again, the numbers speak for themselves. There's been a 7-5 or 7-6 in 8 straight Kashanov matches, 8 of the last 9 for Greek Sport. Greek Sport's punted at least one set in 8 straight matches, and you can get a good price of minus 150. I'll take it. It's juicy, but I still like it. Kashanov team total over 12.5, minus 150 as my lock for the show. For the dog, I'm going to go to Basel. I'm going to go to the other serve bot. I'll skip over Pericard. I'm going to go to the Opelka match against Baez. Give me Opelka, straight sets at plus 135. Opelka, I know, can be very annoying to back because if he ends up losing a breaker, you'll be very annoyed. However, Baez, we faded all hardcourt season. It's mostly worked out. Updated numbers. He is 3-17 straight up in his last 20 hardcourt matches. He is awful on hardcourt. Now, it's also the fastest hardcourt on the entire schedule in Basel. Opelka, not the guy you want to face when you are going to have a hard time breaking him anyway. Now you ramp up the speed of the courts, and Opelka's serving bombs every time. Good luck to Baez. A reminder, he's also undersized. He's 5'7". The ball's going to be flying off the courts in Basel, and Baez is going to have a hard time reaching the kick serves as well. I don't know how Baez breaks. Like, Opelka's going to need to double fault a lot or miss his spots, and Baez needs a lot of second serves to see for a shot at breaking. But Baez being 5'7" on these courts, it's a match made in heaven for Opelka. When you look at the actual skill set that he has, you look at the actual court speeds, and you look at the opponent here, Baez should have a really hard time generating a break point in general. Not even breaking, generating a break point. We saw Opelka beat Dzanchulp in the last round of qualifying. Dzanchulp didn't generate a break point either. So I think Opelka might land 20, 30 aces. We'll go from there. Baez, we know, is not a good server based on his frame. Opelka did break Dzanchulp in each set. So I do think it's doable that Opelka can actually break maybe once in each set. If not, though, so many free points on the serve. I think Baez is going to struggle. I think it's a great price at plus 135. I think it's a bargain. That's on DraftKings. I'll take that before the line moves. 3-17 straight up in his last 20 hardcourt matches. Opelka can be streaky. I get it. But it really is a great matchup and a great environment for him to thrive. If Pericard won the title last year not getting broken, why can't Opelka get through Baez without getting broken? Give me Opelka in straight sets as my dog at 135. So once again, he plays here for lock and dog. Lock's going to be on Kashanov. Team total over 12.5 against Greek Sport at minus 150. For the dog, I'm going to go with Opelka in straight sets against Baez at plus 135. So I'm going to wrap it up for the show. Back once again for the quarterfinals in Basel and Vienna. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.